Hey everyone, today I want to talk to you about email deliverability in WordPress. Now, what do I mean by email deliverability? Well, I mean basically ensuring that any email that is sent through your WordPress website arrives at its destination. So, for example, you have a contact form on your website and a customer will go onto your website and fill out the form, and then when they hit submit, the website should be sending the form to you. However, a lot of the time when you are using the basic setup in WordPress, you may not receive the email. Now, why is that? Well, for an example, I had a website that had a contact form on it. When someone filled it out, it should have been arriving in my Gmail inbox because I use G Suite. And a lot of the time they weren't arriving. Sometimes they were arriving in my spam folder. They would come up with a message saying this is untrusted, or it just would be completely bounced and I would not receive the email. There are a few things you need to take into consideration when you're sending emails through your WordPress website, especially with contact forms. So when someone fills out the contact form and it sends it to your mailbox, you need to make sure that you don't put the sender email as the email address of the person who's filled out the form, because what is happening is Gmail or Outlook or Hotmail, they're thinking that your server is actually pretending to be that person and it's rejecting that email because it's being seen as a spoofed email. So there are ways around this, and I'm going to show you the way that I've been using for about 5 years now to stop emails that are sent out through WordPress, to go either stopping them going to spam or stopping them from being blocked completely. If you think about it, it's really important because if you say have a business that relies on online inquiries, you need to make sure that your emails are going through. So this is very important. Also, if you have an online shop saying using WooCommerce, you need to definitely make sure that your emails get sent to you. Otherwise, people are going to be placing orders and you're not even going to know about it unless you log into your administration section. So the first plugin I want to show you is something called Mail SMTP. And I have the pro version, but you can actually get the free version on the WordPress plugin repository. So I'm going to activate that and I'm going to then go into the plugin here. Now, what this plugin essentially does is it takes away WordPress's basic functionality, which is using something called WP Mail to send your email, and it is diverting your email to a third-party provider. Now, why would you use one of these third-party providers? Well, the reason why you would is because they are set up in a way to bulk send emails. They have all of the proper setup on their servers to ensure that your emails are properly authenticated and sent through to the recipient properly. So for example, if you are sending an email using WP Mail, what it typically does is it sends it through PHP, which is the programming language of WordPress, and it typically uses the base server where your website is hosted. So if your website is hosted on a shared server with 1,000 other websites on it, the reputation of that server may be quite low, and therefore Google or G Suite, or Gmail, Outlook or Hotmail or whoever's receiving the email might see it as a spam email. There's also issues with stuff called SPF records and DKIM records. They aren't sent with these PHP WP Mail emails. So what we need to do is make sure that we properly authenticate the emails that are sent through our server, and therefore they have a much higher chance to arrive in the mailbox. So as you can see here on the WP Mail SMTP screen, we have our license key, which I've added in, and having a license key and paying for this plugin gives you quite a few more options than the free version. So firstly, you put in your from email and from name, and you can force it. And basically that means that if in one of your contact form plugins, you have made the from email a specific email, this will actually override that. Okay, and I'll just put from name as Sean there. And then return path is basically setting the return path. So if an email that you do send gets bounced, it will actually bounce back to your email that sends the email. So we can just tick that. If we go further down, you'll see the options for the mailers. So you have PHP, which is what we don't want to use. So there would be absolutely no point to use this plugin if we're going to use the basic PHP setup. Then you have SendInBlue, Mailgun, SendGrid, AWS, Gmail, Outlook, other SMTP. You probably want to stick to one of these because this uses their API. So you could use SMTP, but it is quite a bit slower. So it requires a connection, a much slower connection. However, if you do use SendInBlue, Mailgun, SendGrid, AWS, maybe not Google, but these four, you're most likely going to be using their API, which is much faster, which means that when someone hits submit on the contact form, it's going to take less time to send. Okay, so for this tutorial, let's just use SendInBlue, because I know if we go to SendInBlue.com, we should see that they offer a certain amount of emails free per month. Now, depending on the amount of emails that your website sends, you might want to sign up. However, this one gives you 300 emails a day, which is fantastic. So let's sign up to it and let's set it up and try and send an email. Okay, so I'm just going to put my business name, my email, and my password, and let's get started. You actually don't need to put a credit card either, which is fantastic. And I just received an email from SendInBlue, so I'm just going to confirm my email address there. Cool, so I just need to fill out my profile, which I'll just do on the other screen. Okay, so I've completed my profile on SendInBlue, and they send you an SMS to your phone to confirm that you are real. Now that we have our account, what we can do is we just need to get the API key so that we can start sending emails. So if we go to settings here, I'm assuming anyway, we just need to find the area for the API key. Actually, we'll just have to go up here to the top right hand corner, click on SMTP and API, and you'll notice that there is a key here. So let's go back to our plugin here. We'll click on SendInBlue, and now it asks for an API key, and it's a v3 API key. So let's grab this key here and paste it into there and hit Save Settings. And now that the settings have been saved, basically any emails that get sent through our WordPress site will be going through SendInBlue. However, if we go back to our dashboard, I believe I saw a message here that requires us to do something. Let's just go here to, there we go. Your account has not been validated yet. You are only a few steps away. Let's find out more and see what's going on here. So it may be that SendInBlue are looking at the account to just make sure that it's not a dodgy spammer that's going to be sending emails. But let's try it anyway and see if we can actually send an email. So we'll go to email test, and I'm just going to send an email to my actual email. I'm going to have it as an HTML email and hit send. All right, as you can see, that was very fast. That was much quicker than using PHP Mailer. Or actually, it might be on par with sending with PHP Mailer. But if you were sending through SMTP, it would be much slower. But again, the email deliverability part of this is going to be much better than using PHP or WP Mail. So let's just check this out. Let's click send email, and we will then go back in and see how long it takes. Oh, cool. So I hit send email about 2 seconds ago, and it's already arrived. Now, you'll notice here that this may be a spoofed message. The message claims to be sent from your account, but it couldn't verify the actual source. If you look up here, you'll see that it was actually sent via SendInBlue.com. And we don't want that to actually come up. We want it to just say from our email. So in order to fix that, we need to go back to our SendInBlue dashboard, and we need to go to our name up here and click on senders and IP. Now we want to verify our domain name so that our domain is a verified sender. So if we go add a new domain, We'll type in webexpert.com.au, which is just my test server. And you'll see here that it says, I would like to use this domain to digitally sign my emails, SPF, DKIM, DMARC. And these are the three things that a lot of email providers look for if they're going to accept an email. So if we save that, and we're going to get all these things, okay? So we have to add these to our DNS records. In my case, I'm using cPanel with my server. So if you use cPanel as well, you could easily do this. Otherwise, you should have an ability to do it with any provider. The interface might look slightly different. So the first thing you want to do is go to Zone Editor in cPanel and go to Manage. And then you can see all of your DNS settings here. So the first thing we want to do is we want to add a text record so we want to grab this record here, and then we want to go add record, paste that inside there, and then grab this. We need to make this a text record, and then we paste that and add the record. The next thing we need to do is add SendInBlue to our SPF records. So we just have to go click. We might already have an SPF record here, so I'll just check. We already have SPF here, so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to override it, save the record there. And then we need to add another text record for webexpert.com.au. All right, so we'll just go add another record, text, webexpert.com.au. And then we need to add a DMARC. So this is another text record, which links to this DMARC. As you can see, it's already kind of set up there. If we make it raw there, we can just copy this and paste it there, hit add record, and there we go. We have all of our records. Now, DNS settings can take a while to come into effect, but I'm going to try and verify it now. So SendInBlue is just going to contact the server and see if they're there. As you can see, it's configured, so it's working. We'll try this one now. See if that works. Okay, that was configured as well. And we'll do these two as well and see how they go. Fantastic. So all of them are configured. We'll click on I'm done. And it should authenticate the domain. And next time we send an email, it's actually going to come through as our email without any message or anything like that. So let's now go back to our website, and I'll go back to the WP Mail plugin, and let's try and send another email now. I'll just go to my Gmail now. We'll click into it. And as you can see, it's still coming up with that spoofed message. And the reason why it is doing that is because most likely the DNS settings from SendInBlue still haven't come into effect. And I have just noticed why this problem is happening. My recipient is my email, which is sean@mrdigital.com.au. That's fine. But in general, we need to make the from email from the actual server address. So as you can see, it is Sean at WebExpert. It's webexpert.com.au, and I'm going to be using Sean at webexpert.com.au. Inside SendInBlue, we have authenticated webexpert.com.au. So therefore, any emails that get sent from that domain, you could make it no reply, for example, as well. Anything you want. Any email that you choose to send from this domain will be authenticated. So I'll just make it no reply at webexpert.com.au, and I'm now going to send another test email to myself. So I've just hit send, and let's wait for the email to come through. Okay, the email has come through. As you can see, there is no error, and as you can see as well, it doesn't have SendInBlue here. It looks like someone has emailed you directly. And that is how you ensure that emails are always delivered to you or your recipients from your WordPress website, whether you're using a contact form or you're using WooCommerce or whatever. Regardless of where your website is hosted, your emails should always arrive at their destination. If we go back to the plugin, because I'm using the Pro version, If we go down here, these 3 or 4 options here are only in the pro version. So SendInBlue, unfortunately, if you are looking to use it with the free plugin, you're not going to be able to use it. You're only going to be able to use PHP, other SMTP, Gmail, and Outlook. I would highly recommend not using Gmail or Outlook to send your emails through this plugin, because Gmail and Outlook have their own limits, and they're quite funny with using them as an SMTP service, so they won't let you send out a lot of emails at once. So for reliability, you should definitely use one of these API providers. Now, while we're here, I'm going to activate 2 different contact form plugins, 2 plugins that I've used in the past, and I would highly recommend, if you are building a website for yourself or for a customer, that you use these 2 plugins. I've noticed a lot of people use a plugin called Contact Form 7, and it is a free plugin, which is fine, and free is awesome. However, if you really want premium functionality and premium add-ons, then you would either choose to use Gravity Forms or WP Forms, which coincidentally is made by the same company that does WP Mail SMTP Pro. I'm going to activate one at a time, and I'm going to create a form in both, put them in the website, and send an email, and we'll see how quickly it goes through. So if we activate Gravity Forms and we go inside Gravity Forms here, and let's just create a test form. We'll just call it test, and we'll put a description of test. And let's just add some information into this form. So we'll ask for the name, we'll ask for an email, we'll ask for a phone number, and we'll ask for some text. So ask them a question, or what is your inquiry, for example. We'll make the name required. We'll also make the email required. We'll make the phone an international phone number, so it doesn't require them to type in this format. And we'll also require that. And then we'll just type, what can we help you with? And we'll make that required as well. We'll hit update, and then we want to put this into our theme. So we can easily go into, say, our pages, go to our home page, or whichever page you want to add it into. And I'm using the Classic Editor plugin, which will make sure that we're not using Gutenberg. So with that enabled, we can click on Add Form, and you can just select your form from the list and make sure it uses Ajax so it doesn't refresh the page. Click Insert Form, and that will work. If we go to Update and we go to our front page, our really basic front page, you'll see it looks like this, which is fine. But as a WordPress developer at heart, I just want to show you how to include it into your WordPress theme code. So let's get rid of this short code, update the page, blank. We'll then go into our theme through Appearance and then Theme Editor, and then go to the template for the page we're using, which is front-page.php. And I'm just going to do underneath the title here. Now, another thing, I'm actually editing in WordPress. I don't usually do this, but just to keep this simple, I'll do it inside the WordPress theme editor. Open up the PHP tags, Gravity Form, Gravity_form, the ID of the form. So you can easily find the ID by looking here, which is 2. And then I believe this is if you want to display the title, which will do false, then the description will do false. And there's another one. Let's just have a look and see what that is, what that argument is. That is to, if you want to display inactive forms, which will make false as well. And then we will also do a tab index, which will just be blank. Then it will be to echo it, which will be true. And then we will just save that. Click on update and we'll refresh. Now we should see our form come up. This is just making a PHP call to the Gravity Forms plugin and displaying it on our screen. So let's quickly go into our Gravity Forms, and we will go to notifications, and we'll set up the notifications to the administrator. So pretend this is a contact form. You're a business and you want someone to fill out the form and it comes directly to you. You could just go to notifications. You could click on edit. Now make sure that the email gets sent to you as the administrator, and this is the placeholder for that. So you can just leave that there, and that refers to the email which is in your WordPress settings, which is there. Then you can do a from name. Let's just call it my website. From email, you can use, remember when we set up the WP Mail SMTP plugin, we made the from email at webexpert.com.au, no reply. So we could make it anything really. We could make it test at webexpert.com.au. And then with the title of the subject, we could just do website inquiry from, and then just use the placeholders name and first name to show the name and first name of the person that has sent the email. Now, one thing that people tend to do is they tend to put the from email as the email of the person who's filling out the contact form. You do not want to do that, because what will happen is that the mail program will try and send the email from that user's email, and that's when you'll probably get an error coming up on Gmail thinking that it has been spoofed. Your website is basically trying to send an email pretending that they're that person, which they're not, and their domain name hasn't been authenticated. So the best way to go about it would be to make the reply to the from email would be test@webexpert.com.au. Sorry, the reply to would be the email of the person who sent the email. So when you, as an administrator, receive the email, when you hit reply, it will actually reply back to the email of that person. We'll then update the notification, and we'll go to the tutorial, the home page of our tutorial, and we'll just fill it out. So let's just type in my details, whatever, and we'll do test. And let's see how quick this is. So we'll just do submit. That was reasonably quick. And if we then check our email, you should see that the email has come through from test@webexpert.com.au. It doesn't have any spoof message. It doesn't have anything that would suggest that it's a spam email. Okay, so that's how you use Gravity Forms. Gravity Forms is a great plugin. I've been using it for ages. It has tons of plugins for MailChimp, PayPal, payments, everything. Okay, so now Gravity Forms has been done. Let's try WP Forms. So I'll go to plugins, I'll deactivate Gravity Forms. I'll also go to the appearance and theme editor and remove, where is it, from front page. We'll remove Gravity Forms from there and we'll update that. And then we'll just go back to plugins and activate WP Forms. So there we go. We've got WP Forms activated now. Let's create our first form. You'll notice the interface is a bit nicer than Gravity Forms, a bit more user-friendly, I would say. Gravity Forms is great for simplicity though. I'll just call this test. There are a couple of templates here, so we could just use a simple contact form that's been set up. Awesome. And if let's add a phone number into there. So let's just go add a phone number, drag and drop. Cool. Maybe make it required. Yeah. Make the email required. We'll make the name required. That's already done. And yeah, that's all required. So that's all been done for us. We'll go to settings and then we'll go to notifications. Now the send to email address will be our email address. Then the email subject could be something like, the same as the Gravity Forms one. Website inquiry from, and we could do name. And then from name will be the name of the person who's sending the email. So we'll just do name there. And then the from email will be test@webexpert.com.au. The reply to, it's already set to 1. So I'm assuming that's the email of the person. As you can see, it's already done that. So that's pretty cool. And we'll save the actual form. If we click on embed, you should see that it gives you the ability to do shortcode, which you can just copy and you can then go and paste into your homepage or any page you want there. If we view it, you'll notice the design looks a bit better. If you look at the design, it's actually nicer looking than Gravity Forms. And that's one thing with Gravity Forms. The design and the styling of it is actually quite ugly, and you can straight away tell that it's a Gravity Form that's being used on the website, I guess if you're a developer anyway. So that's one way you can embed the form. Another way is you could just put it in the code as well. So you could go to theme editor again, go to the page you want to put it into, and then just do this PHP WP forms display, and then you want to put the ID of the form, which would be 19. And then you just put the title of the form, whatever you want to call it. So we'll just call it test, and then the description test. You could leave it null if you want to, but we'll just do that. And we'll update the file. We'll refresh it. And there we go, the form is there as well. So let's try this out. We'll do test. Actually, I'll just type in my name. The phone field looks much nicer as well. It's internationalized as well by the looks of it, which is cool. And I'll just type test and we'll hit submit. Okay, so that works as well. And there you go. So let's see why this has happened. It was set to be from Sean at Mr. Digital. So if we go back and we go to WP Forms and we go to Edit, go to Settings and go to Notifications, Send to email address. Actually, where is that notification we did before? There it is, the default notification. From email test at Web Expert. Okay, that's a bit strange why it's actually sending from Sean at Mr. Digital. It shouldn't be doing that. Looks like I've made a small mistake and I must have added a new notification before I saved the form. So we'll just remove that one and just keep this one here. And then we'll get out of it. We'll just try and resend another one. Oops, where are we? There we go. So another email has been sent and we'll just see how long it takes to come in. Great. Okay, so that has now arrived and it comes up in a better looking HTML format. So I've noticed with WP Forms that it has more design aspect to it. It looks much nicer. You can add your logo. You can do all these settings to it so that your emails look great. Gravity Forms is a bit more simplistic. However, it's kind of like the workhorse of the contact form plugins. I would highly recommend either Gravity Forms or WP Forms if you're going to be developing websites for customers. And of course, to use WP Mail SMTP to ensure that emails get sent. So that wraps up my tutorial. If you did find any value in this, I would so much appreciate you if you were to buy any of these plugins to use the links below this video, because it does give me a small commission, but it does help me keep going to make tutorials that help people learn more about web development and website design and WordPress, obviously. So with that being said, I'd very much like to thank you for your time and I hope you enjoyed this video. Thank you.